I'm John, and in this subreddit, I want to share my success story. My name is John, I'm 39 now, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I was born into an average white middle-class family. My parents weren't rich, but we didn't live in poverty either. There was always money for food, rent, and the basics, but nothing more. I was never really good at school. Academic subjects were tough for me, especially math and literature. But there was one thing I was good at since I was a kid: counting money. At 16, I got my first job as a cleaner at a small cafe not far from Hollywood. They paid $6.75 an hour, and I worked 3 to 4 hours after school. It was hard, but that's when I had my first realization: if I work, I get my own cash. After a few months, I moved to an auto repair shop, started with washing cars, and then they let me do simple repairs. I learned everything with my hands. What I couldn't do in class, I nailed 100% in real life. I didn't know who I wanted to be, but I sure knew who I didn't want to be: poor. At 17, I had already saved my first $1,000. I knew it wasn't much for some, but for me, it was the first goal I had reached on my own. At 18, I finished high school. No honors, no college, no celebration. My parents wanted me to try something stable, but I knew college wasn't my path. I decided to work full-time. I got a job as a laborer at a warehouse, carrying boxes, loading furniture, working delivery. It was physically tough, but it gave me something important: an understanding of logistics, routes, and how small businesses operate from the inside. That's when I first heard from a coworker about private moving jobs. He had an old Ford truck and was making decent money helping people move. I asked him, "Seriously, you just load stuff and people pay you?" He said, "They're not paying for the stuff. They're paying because you show up on time and don't break anything along the way." That stuck with me. I started saving even harder: every tip, every extra hour, even loose change from my pockets. At 19, I bought my first old truck, a '99 Chevy Express. It wasn't a dream, it was a beat-up machine with no AC. But it was mine, and I used it to start taking small jobs on my own. I made a simple flyer on a library computer: John moving, cheap, careful, stress-free. And I started taping it to poles near supermarkets and even sliding it under windshield wipers. The first few weeks, nothing, no calls. I thought it was all a waste, but then one call: a student moving out of campus; second, a family switching apartments. And from there, it started rolling. By the time I was 20, I already had a steady flow of orders. At first 1 to 2 a week, then 4 to 5. I worked alone: driver, loader, dispatcher, all in one. It was a crazy pace, waking up at 5 a.m., sometimes finishing at midnight, but I loved it because I was building something of my own. Then I did something that changed the game, and I officially registered as a sole proprietorship. This allowed me to issue invoices, sign contracts, and look professional in the eyes of clients. At that point, I had about $15,000 saved. I hardly spent anything. Ate at home, didn't buy expensive stuff, lived with my parents. All the money went either into fixing the truck or advertising. I created a basic website where I added a photo of myself in uniform smiling with the caption, "I show up. I don't break stuff." It worked. The site started bringing clients. Then I signed up on Craigslist, and demand exploded. But one day I lost everything. One evening, returning from a delivery, my truck was stolen right from under the house. It had tools, personal things, even business documents inside. I was in shock. Everything I had worked for 2 years disappeared overnight. I sat in my room, stared at the ceiling, and thought, well, you lost. You're just a fool with dreams. But then I did the most important thing in my life. I didn't give up. After my truck was stolen, I was pushed to the edge. It wasn't just a hit to my equipment, it was a blow to my entire dream and plans. But I understood one thing: giving up meant losing for good. I sat down and analyzed what happened and why. It turned out my biggest mistake was the lack of a backup, both financial and logistical. I was fully relying on one truck and my own personal resources, which was risky. To recover, I started small. I didn't immediately buy a new truck because I had no money. Instead, I used my connections with people from other delivery and warehouse jobs. I arranged temporary work as a subcontractor for several larger services that had their own fleets. This allowed me to work again, though not on my own terms. At the same time, I began saving money from these side jobs, watching every cent. I learned to plan routes better and optimize my time to earn more from each order. Gradually, after a few months, I was able to buy an old but working cargo van. Not perfect, no AC, scratched, but on wheels, and that was what mattered. From that moment, I became not just a loader, but a real entrepreneur. I took on the roles of driver, manager, marketer, and logistician all in one. I found clients myself, negotiated prices, and managed a team of 2 assistants I hired thanks to college contacts. I learned to trust people, delegate some tasks, and control the quality of services. This helped me scale the business step by step from small to medium. I invested profits in new equipment, advertising, and truck insurance. I developed a feedback system with clients. This helped improve service and get more referrals. The comeback was slow and hard, but I never gave myself any breaks. I set a goal, not just to survive, but to build a real company that could withstand any difficulties. And by 23, my small team with a few trucks started bringing steady profit. That was the moment I felt I was on the right path. After I lost my truck, I realized that just working with my hands wasn't enough. I started looking at the business more broadly, as a system where it's important not only to fulfill orders, but also to understand where you put your money. When I bought my second truck and stabilized the operation, I began saving not just for a rainy day, but to invest. At first, these were small amounts, repairs, buying better equipment, advertising, but I understood that for the business to grow, I had to take risks and invest in the future. I taught myself financial literacy, reading books, watching videos, seeking advice from experienced entrepreneurs. Over time, I realized I could invest money not only in my own fleet, but also in diversification. For example, renting warehouses, partnering with other logistics companies, even buying stocks. This helped me build a financial cushion and protect myself from new setbacks. Instead of fearing losing everything again, I started working so that the business could survive without me. Every dollar I earned became an investment in the future, in expansion, team training, and technologies that made our work more efficient. Step by step, this is how I was able not only to come back, but also start scaling the business. These investments became the foundation for my first million and beyond. Today, at 39, I run a company with over 25 trucks spread across Los Angeles and surrounding areas. I have 3 warehouses that we rent for storing cargo and equipment, and a team of over 50 employees, drivers, loaders, logisticians, and managers. My business is no longer just moving trucks. It's a full-service logistics company serving both private clients and large corporations. The company's annual revenue exceeds $12 million, with a net profit of about $2 million. And while the numbers look impressive, for me the most important thing is the impact my business has on the lives of hundreds of people who work with me and depend on this job. From the beginning, when I was a kid with my first cleaning job, to today, it's been a journey full of challenges and highs. And if I can do it, so can you. All it takes is faith, hard work, and the willingness to keep moving forward even when it feels like everything is against you.